We are going to kick off 2026 by having a conversation that we absolutely need to have. And as we are having this conversation, I want you to know that I am having this conversation as much with you as I am with myself. This is something that I have been reflecting on. And I thought, you know what? I think this is something that we probably need to talk about here because from here on out, it doesn't matter how much information I give you about food and binge eating and quieting food noise and feeling more freedom around food. If we don't have this conversation, if we don't unpack this, then nothing is going to change. So I know that you have said that this year food is going to be different. The way that you eat, the way that you move, the way that you live is going to be different. And as I am recording this episode, it is January 13th. If you're watching this in real time, maybe some things have changed. Maybe you've noticed yourself slipping back into old behaviors. I know for me, I said this is the year that I'm not going to scroll anymore. I'm not going to do so much doom scrolling. And I literally caught myself last night on a 2-hour scroll bender. And this is why I think that we need to have these conversations because I know this work. I do this work. I very much live this work. And I'm also human. And so what I'm going to share with you are the 5 questions that I bring myself back to when I notice I have acknowledged that I want to make a change. I have said I want to make a change. I have in my brain committed to a change. And maybe I've made some changes for a day or two, but I keep falling back to where I was before. Why? Or I keep saying that I want something. I want to do something different and I don't actually make the changes to make that happen. Why? So today, pull up a chair to the kitchen table because we are going to unpack why and then also what you need to think about to shift this so that you're not repeating the same patterns this year that you have in previous years. And this is the year that you actually change. We do need to do a little bit of digging first. So if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Ryan. This is our kitchen table. This is a space where we get to talk about all the food and body things that so many different people feel, but nobody really talks about. We get to talk about it here. So pull up a chair, introduce yourself to everybody below, and let's dig into this. So as I said, the thing that I really want to do today is this is less telling you because you can go on Google, you can go on ChatGPT. I'm sure that there are a million videos out there about why you cannot stick to the plan or why you can't make the changes. I don't want to tell you. I want us to uncover and unpack what is actually blocking you so that you can see for yourself what is keeping you stuck, but also so that you can learn how to do this for yourself. One of the things that I think is so important when you're doing any kind of healing work, whether you're working with a therapist or a coach or doing a program, is learning how to do this for yourself, which is why in my program, Beyond Binge Eating, one of the things that I tell them over and over and over is that my goal in this program and in the work that I do with you guys is for you to not need me anymore. So with everything that I do and everything that I teach, I want it to be something that you can then apply to other elements of your life. You can then take and do it to you as well. What I see happen so many times is that someone goes into therapy or somebody goes into a program and it's great because they're getting so much hand-holding, which is so important and absolutely has a place. But then without that therapist, it's like, wait a minute, how do I do this? I don't know how to do this. And I don't find that very helpful. I think that there absolutely needs to be a balance of support and then also you learning how to do this for yourself, which is what I hope that you get out of this episode. You can see what it looks like for you to begin learning how to do this for yourself. So this isn't a pattern that you keep falling into, and sure, you have all this information, but it's not actually getting you anywhere because we need to ask some hard questions to actually get you somewhere. This might be something that you listen to as you are walking or driving or hanging out and then come back to with a journal, or it might be something that you pause and journal throughout the way, whatever works best for you. But I'm going to tell you right now, we are going through 5 different hard questions that I have sat down with and asked myself when it comes to all of the goals that I set at the beginning of this year that I already see slipping, so that we don't go any further without me actually making the changes that I know that I want to make this year for my business, for my life, as a mom, so many different things. So without further ado, let's start with question 1. So, the very first thing that I want you to think about is what was it at the beginning of this year that you said that you wanted to change? Or if you're not listening to this at the beginning of this year, or if you didn't set New Year's resolutions, which is so fine, you don't have to, what is something that you have told yourself recently that you want to change? You have said, this is something that I want to do differently, or this is something that I want to stop doing. And this is something that you have obviously identified as important to you. This is not just oh, that seems nice, I would like for maybe that to happen. This is I have literally thought about the fact that I want this to be different in my life. If you are here, I have a feeling that that is something related to either food or body, or a combination of both, where you want to stop binge eating, you want to stop the food noise, you want to stop obsessing over your body, you want to feel better in your body, or you've done all of that work, but now you've noticed you're obsessing over other things, or you're still struggling with control and perfectionism and all of these other things that are so intertwined with all of it. What have you told yourself that you want to do differently, and you have noticed yourself not actually doing that? Do you have that in your mind? Because that is what we are going to use when we are asking these questions, okay? So the very first question that I want you to ask yourself is, if I say that I want this, and if I say that this is important to me, and if I say that this is something that I want to change, why am I not making time for it? Why is it not on my calendar? This is something that matters to me, then wouldn't it have a time and place in my life? If this is something that matters to me, wouldn't it matter enough for me to put it on my schedule? So if this is something that I want to change and this is something that matters to me, why is it not on my calendar? So if we take food, for example, if you're struggling with food, what does that look like? What does putting it on your calendar look like? If eating regularly throughout the day is something that you have identified as something that makes a massive difference in whether you binge or not, or how loud your food thoughts are, then why is lunch breaks, snack breaks, time to meal prep not in your calendar? If healing your relationship with food is something that is important to you, why are support groups or programs or coaching or working with someone not on your calendar? And I know that finances can absolutely be a factor in that. If they are, there are so many free resources out there. So why are those not on your calendar? And again, I'm not saying this just at you. I have asked myself the same questions this week. If this is something that is important to me, for example, this podcast, if this is something that is important to me, why is sitting down and recording this not on my calendar? Why is this just something that I tell myself I'll get to it this week, but it's not in my calendar, but it's important to me, so why is it not? Why doesn't it get time and space there, but hours of scrolling does? When we ask that question, it can bring up a lot, because it can bring up a lot of excuses, which are so fair. It can bring up a lot of defensiveness, which is so fair. And if there is defensiveness, if there is resistance, if there is but, I don't have time, but, that's so valid. I know that we all have different responsibilities. We all have different things that we are committed to. You have time to watch this video right now. You have time to scroll if you scroll. I remember there was a time in my life where I would say, I don't have time to make meals. I have 3 freaking jobs. I am working and I have my internship and I'm doing all of these different things. I don't have time to eat. Always had time to binge. I always had time to binge. When we use time as a reason for why we're not doing this, all we are saying is that this is not a priority for me right now. And that is such a hard truth. And that doesn't mean that it's not important to you. Please hear me when I say that. But what this means is that every space that gets filled on your calendar is because that is a priority for you. You might not like that, but your actions always show what is most important to you. So if this is truly important to me, why is it not on my calendar? Is this something that I actually want? Or is this something that I feel like I should want? And so I say that I want it, but maybe I don't? Is this something that I really don't actually want, but I want other people to see that I have it? And that's why it's not getting space on my calendar, because I really don't actually want it? Or do I want it? And now we're moving into question 2. Or do I want it? And I have acknowledged subconsciously, because this is probably not going to be a conscious thought, I have acknowledged subconsciously that if I make time for this, it makes it more real. and I no longer get to be who I've been. So let me tell you what I mean by that, because you're probably like, wait, what? So I'm going to be vulnerable for a second. My husband and I have been trying to have a second baby for 14 months. So it's been 14 months of trying for baby 2 and no luck. And I have been so resistant to reaching out to a doctor to talk about it, because in my brain, once I reach out to a doctor, it makes the idea that there might be something wrong more real. The irony is that it doesn't, but to our brains, sometimes committing to something can make it feel more real. It's like, I hear this all the time. If I actually join Beyond Binge Eating, that is me admitting that I actually do have a problem. And that feels really scary. That makes it so much more real. Because if I'm joining this, if I'm committing to this, if I am really signing up to do this work, then does that mean that I am finally admitting to myself that there might actually be a problem here, that this is actually real and this is something that I might not be able to do on my own and I need more help for that? That's what I mean by, if I make time for this, is that making it more real, and that feels scary. And then the second piece is, who do I no longer get to be if I commit to making this change? So I want you to think about the fact that change isn't necessarily scary because of effort. It's scary because of what it's going to remove in your life and who it removes you from being. So if you have been living this way for a long time, you have created an identity around this version of you. I am the person who struggles. I am the person who can't control myself around food. I am the person who is always going to have a hard time with this. I am the person who has to control everything to be safe. And with all of that, the problem is that when we put this on the schedule and we actually start making changes, that identity of, I'm the person who always struggles, I'm always having a hard time with this, I just can't control myself, this is just hard for me, that version has to die. You can't be that version of yourself anymore. You can't rely on that anymore. You can't blame that anymore. And when you can't blame that anymore, you have to level up. And that's hard and that's scary. And sometimes the thought of this not being a crutch anymore, this not being something that you can lean on, this not being something that you can go back to is terrifying. Because what if I fail? What if I can't do it? What if I create all of this discomfort for myself that I can't handle? What if I pull this away and I don't like what I see? What if I open the box and I can't close it? What if I have a hard day? What do I do? What if I try this and it doesn't work? What does that mean? If I make more time for this, if I put this on my schedule, what identity does that threaten? If I actually make this change, who do I no longer get to be? And if you don't know, because you've never thought of it that way before, because why would you? If you're not a therapist or if you've never done therapy or any kind of coaching work, that's probably a question that you've never asked yourself before, which is so fair. The next question, and if you need to take a breather, that's so fine. These are ruthless questions and such important questions, is what do I gain by staying this way? What's the benefit of me remaining here? And that can seem like a really twisted question, because for many of us, especially when we're thinking about something that we want to change, it's easy to be like, wait a minute, I'm not benefiting. That's why I want to make the change. That's why I don't want to be this way anymore. That's why I don't want to binge anymore. I don't want to obsess over food anymore. I don't want to struggle with my body like this anymore. There is no way that I benefit from this. What do you mean? What I mean is that we do not repeat behaviors that we don't benefit from in some way. So what are you getting out of this cycle, this identity, this behavior, this pattern? Because you're getting something from it. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep doing it. This does not mean that you enjoy or like the struggle. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we are acknowledging that the behavior, the pattern, the things that you keep engaging in, even though you don't want to, have a protective benefit. They are serving you in some way. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep repeating them. You wouldn't. So let me give you some examples of really, really common ways that we benefit by staying in the same cycle, the same pattern. And this applies to the binge eating cycle, the food noise cycle, the body cycle, but it can also apply to any other cycle, the work cycle, the obsession, like so many other things. When you are repeating a behavior that you do not love, these are some of the most common ways that you benefit. The very first way is that when you stay in this cycle and you are not actually committing to change, you get to say, I'm trying, instead of I choose not to do this anymore. I'm trying not to binge. I'm trying to regulate emotions without food. I am trying to be kinder to myself, rather than I'm choosing not to engage in the behaviors that aren't serving me anymore. That's a very different level of commitment. The current version of you gets to live in effort and trying and being this person that doesn't necessarily have to commit to anything. And you don't have to commit to anything because you're still trying. So then you're in this cycle of, oh, well, it's okay, I'm still trying, or, I'm not going to do that yet, I'm still trying, or, that was just hard for me because I'm still trying. It's enabling yourself. Now, I absolutely think that there's a time and a place to acknowledge that, yes, you are trying, yes, you are learning, but with the things that you are trying and learning, are you pushing yourself, or are you holding yourself back and keeping yourself in the same cycle because you're using the words I'm trying as a reason why you are not pushing yourself further? If you do not commit to making this change, then you get to stay in this I'm just trying mode. When you commit to change, it removes this buffer. You're not just trying anymore. You're leveling up to actually committing and actually doing it. And if you commit to actually doing it, that means that you might fail. And for many of us, I know for me, absolutely, it always feels safer to be in this version of, oh, I'm trying, rather than I'm committing to that, knowing that that might not work out. Ooh. The second thing is that when you stay stuck in the same patterns, it gives you a very familiar, easy, clean explanation for why you don't have what you actually want. Well, yeah, my friendships aren't as great as I know that they could be because I'm struggling with food. Or, well, yeah, I know that I don't have a relationship right now because I am not dating because I'm unhappy with my body. Or, well, yeah, I don't have the business that I want, or the relationship that I want, or the life that I want because I am, whatever it is that you are using as your reasoning for why you are not doing that. That is way cleaner than saying, I don't have what I want because I'm not committing to it. I don't have a relationship because I'm not dating, or I'm not putting myself out there, or I'm not hanging out with friends the way that I used to, or I am not as happy as I know that I could be because I need to do some deeper work here. It's a lot easier to blame food, body, money, anything tangible like that, than to pull that away and look at the fact that when you take that away and you can't blame food anymore, and you can't blame body anymore, and you can't blame money anymore, and you can't blame these things anymore, what's left? What is underneath all of that? That's where things get really uncomfortable. I have my clients ask themselves that all the time. If you didn't have your body to blame, what would be left instead? If you didn't have food to blame, what would we really need to be talking about right now? The next benefit, and this definitely isn't talked about enough, is that it allows you to postpone bigger decisions, and it feels almost in a way really responsible because I'm working on my relationship with food. I'm working on myself. I'm working on all these different things. I'm saying that I'm working on all these things, but I'm not actually committing to the work. But because I'm saying that I'm working on these things, or I want to work on these things, then I don't yet have to make these bigger decisions about my life or my relationship, or things that I know that I need to face. I don't need to face those right now because right now I'm looking at this, but I'm not actually looking at this. I'm not actually doing the work for this. So it feels really, really nice to say, you know what, I'm going to put that over there until I'm ready for it. It just gets to stay over there and you stay stuck over here. And then it becomes easier to justify that. I don't have to have these hard conversations. I don't have to do this deeper work yet. I don't have to look at that yet. I don't have to deal with that yet. I don't have to unpack that yet. That's later. When the reality is that actually needs to happen right now, like yesterday. And then I know that this one is talked about a lot, but the comfort of predictability is a massive way that we benefit, even though the cycle that we are in is debilitating. It's stressful. It's miserable. It is ruining our lives. We know exactly what to expect from it. When I was in the binge cycle, I knew exactly what happened every single time. I knew exactly what the high felt like. I knew exactly what my binge was going to look like. I knew exactly how I was going to recover from that. And I knew exactly how I was going to restrict after that because I did it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. I knew exactly what was going to happen. So even though binge eating, and then after I stopped binge eating and I was still struggling with food noise, even though that was something that was consuming me and I hated, I knew exactly what to expect from it. And because I knew exactly what to expect from it, I also knew that I could handle it. I could handle that discomfort. But the discomfort of taking away the binge, the discomfort of taking away the restriction, the discomfort of sitting in emotions, the discomfort of having hard conversations, the discomfort of doing this deeper work, I didn't know if I could handle that. And that felt really, really scary. We will always choose familiar discomfort over unfamiliar peace every single time. Our brains are wired for survival and safety, not necessarily to thrive. And in a way, what you are doing with food right now is keeping you safe. It's keeping you safe from these hard conversations, these hard emotions, these difficult feelings. That doesn't necessarily mean that safe right now is actually safe and actually happy. You know what I mean? Oof. And then the last benefit, I'm going to end with a bang because this is something that I've been thinking about so much and something that I've noticed myself struggling with, and I've noticed so many of my clients struggling with, and just where I see our culture going. And that is, we have so much access to self-improvement stuff, which is amazing in so many ways, especially if you are strapped financially. You can get on Google, you can get on Instagram, you can get on TikTok, and you can get information from a licensed professional right at your fingertips for free all day long if you wanted to. It is a blessing and it is a curse. And it is a curse because it's really, really easy to continue to think that you are always a problem to fix. Okay, I solved that. What's the next thing about myself that I need to fix? Okay, I solved that. Okay, what is the next thing about myself that I need to fix? And you continue to focus on fixing and fixing and fixing and fixing. And when you get to live, when you get to have fun, and when you get to play, and when you get to reap the benefits of all of the work that you've done, when you get to hang up the hat of, I have been doing self-improvement, and take a break. Because if you're not constantly fixing yourself, then what? Then we need to shift to things like purpose and desire and meaning and fun and presence and play. And all of those things are very vulnerable, especially if you grew up in a home where your sense of worth was attached to productivity. Because if you are now doing something that doesn't have an end to the mean, then what's the point? Oh, but the point is to enjoy our lives. I think that we forget that. I'll speak for myself. It's so easy to forget that this is it. This is what we've got. And I could not be here tomorrow. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have a client last week that slipped and fell and she broke her arm. She didn't plan on that happening. We have no idea what's going to happen. And knowing that I have no idea what's going to happen, and I get this one life, and I know that everybody says it, everybody talks about it all the time, yet it's one of those things that we really, really don't acknowledge enough. What do I want to look back on when I'm 80 and remember that I spent Charlotte's childhood just working and working and working and working? I already know that, I spent my college years, my high school years with my eating disorder as my best friend, and that is something that I'll never get back. And that is why this is so important to me now. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm perfect, and that doesn't mean that I am just fully living life to the fullest and I never, ever, ever take time for granted. That's not true. I am working on this, and I think acknowledging that we really need to bring it back to, what is the point? What am I doing this for? That's why I always ask my clients in the beginning, why are you doing this work? What do you ultimately want? Because if it's just about stopping the binges, if it's just about getting into a smaller body, that is not going to be enough. It is not going to be enough. We have to look at the bigger picture of, how do I want to spend my days? How do I want to live my life? Now, I think that where a lot of people who have these conversations go that I don't necessarily love because I don't find it very helpful is they go down the rabbit hole of you are choosing this. What do you want to choose? And I don't love that because with a lot of the behaviors that you are doing, they are adaptive to keeping you safe in some kind of way. And there is a reason why you are doing the things that you are doing, which is why we just reflected on that. So this is not me saying, this is you choosing not to put it on your calendar. No. This is acknowledging why it's been hard for you to actually make this change. And acknowledging why something that you say is important to you is not important enough to get on your calendar, and understanding that to take away the shame, take away the blame, and stop saying, what is wrong with me? Now you have a better understanding. There is nothing wrong with you. There are very deep reasons why this hasn't been there. And us continuing to live this same way is uncomfortable. Us making changes is uncomfortable. This isn't about avoiding discomfort. This is about what discomfort am I willing to tolerate? Because both paths are going to be uncomfortable. And each path has a cost, right? Like we just talked about the cost of staying the same. I don't think that we need to go down that rabbit hole, but if we do, the cost of staying and binge eating and food noise and obsessing over your body, you miss out on so many elements of your life that you'll never get back. Presence, experience, moments. Each side has a cost. When you're struggling with binge eating and food noise and body image, it costs you your life. It costs you your presence. It costs you a fuck ton of money. It costs you emotionally. It costs you relationships. It costs you joy. It costs you peace. It costs you moments of your life. I'll never get high school and college back. I won't. I'll never get the opportunity to study abroad back. I won't. But I can change that now, and I can shift that now. And if I do, and I did, that did have a cost. Because I didn't get to be the version of me who struggled with this anymore. I had to own a lot of shit, and that was deeply uncomfortable. And it was hard. And relationships did change, and they did shift. And I lost some, and I gained some too. The cost is that obviously it's going to be uncomfortable. The cost is that you have to let go of this version of you that has in a way been keeping you safe for so long. The cost is that you will no longer be able to use that as a crutch. The cost is sometimes when you commit, it makes it real, and that kind of sucks. But then when it makes it real, things actually get to change because you're doing the work and you're finally committing. And when you acknowledge that both sides have a cost, and living the way that you are currently living or continuing to repeat the pattern that you are currently repeating costs more than you doing something different, this isn't just saying that you want something different. This now goes on your calendar and gets a space in your life. You say that you want to heal your relationship with food. You say that you want to recover from binge eating. You say you want to feel better in your body. I love that, and I know that you can have that. We've had so many conversations about it. What is going on your calendar this week that shows that you want that shows that you are actively working towards that? You are lonely and you want more relationships in your life. You want more friendships. You want to cultivate those friendships. What is going on your calendar that shows that you want that? After having Charlotte, my husband and I have really been like two ships in the night, and I have really, really wanted to work on our relationship, and I've said that for a while, but I've never put date nights on our calendar. They're on our calendar. That is what I mean. What is going on your calendar? Like, I literally want you to pause this right now, and I want you to open up whatever you put your appointments in, and I want you to make space for this in your calendar. Whether it's beyond binge eating, whether it's reading a book, whether it's going to a free support group, whether it's talking to your therapist, whether it's whatever it is, put it on the calendar. Put it on the calendar. I have to interject here really quick because if you're like, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't even know where to start, here's where you're going to start, and here's exactly what you're going to put on your calendar. Because in 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks, I am hosting another free live workshop. It's going to be January 27th, 28th, and 29th at 12 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be called Designing Your Life Beyond Binge Eating. We're going to unpack so many different things. And if you cannot make that live, putting time into your calendar to rewatch those replays is going to be such a game changer, and continuing this conversation conversation. Registration information for that will be found in the description box below. And that was our question 5. I got ahead of myself there. Given the cost that I am already paying for not making this change, what is the one thing that I am willing to do this week? Put it on my calendar this week. I'm not just going to say I'm going to do it. I'm literally going to write it into my calendar that is going to get me one step closer to actually making this change. What is the one thing that I'm putting there that says this is something that matters to me? This is important to me. I want this. And because I want this, and because this matters to me, and because this is important to me, this is going on the calendar. Because we are here at the kitchen table together, and because we are in this work together, and because we are doing this together, whether you are struggling with food or body, or whether you have already healed that and you're on to the next level of struggle with control and perfectionism and all the other things that come along with this, I would absolutely love for you to comment below and share with us what is the one thing that you are putting on your calendar this week so that we can see each other working on this and committing to this. I will tell you right now that I am leaving this call and I am officially going to the doctor to get our fertility checked out. I have a time block now in my calendar for podcasting, so I can be way more consistent with podcasting this year. I have now a calendar block in my schedule for content, so I can be way more consistent with content this year. I have a calendar block for my book writing. I have a calendar block for my program, Beyond Binge Eating, to check in with clients. I already had that, but also I have so many plans for Beyond Binge Eating, up-leveling the curriculum in there, adding more to it, and so many different things. So that is in there too, because I want this. And what I realized, full transparency, at the beginning of the year, I knew that I wanted all of this. I had these goals, but here we are, January 13th, and I haven't recorded a podcast. I've been so incredibly inconsistent with content. I've been frantic with the book. I've just been all over the place, and I don't love that. So I sat down with these questions. I had a heart-to-heart with myself, and we are shifting because although it's been really comfortable to operate the way that I've been operating, especially because I don't have a team, everything is me. I don't have anybody that works for me. Everything is me. I know that the way that I'm operating works, and it feels scary to think if I level up, if I do more, am I going to be able to handle it? I'm willing to find out. Are you willing to find out? Let's do it together. Okay, you have a lot of reflecting to do. If anything else comes up, comment below. Let's continue unpacking, and I will see you next week. Bye.